What started as a seemingly ordinary morning on Today with Jenna and Friends quickly spiraled into one of the most talked about moments in daytime television when country superstar Blake Shelton abruptly walked off the set after a heated exchange with the hosts. Fans who tuned in expecting lighthearted banter, musical anecdotes, and Shelton's signature humor instead witnessed an uncomfortable escalation that left the studio audience stunned and social media buzzing with speculation. The episode began on a cheerful note, with Jenna and her co-hosts welcoming Blake with warmth and enthusiasm. They chatted casually about his current projects, his experience as a longtime coach on The Voice, and his new music releases. For the first several minutes, the mood was light. Shelton cracked jokes, teased about his Oklahoma roots, and even strummed a few playful chords on his guitar. The audience responded with laughter and applause, reinforcing the expectation that this would be yet another easygoing morning segment featuring one of America's most beloved entertainers. But as the conversation unfolded, the tone shifted. The host steered the discussion toward Shelton's personal life, a subject that has always attracted headlines given his marriage to Gwen Stefani and his past relationships that have frequently been dissected in the press. At first, Shelton tried to sidestep the questions with his usual charm, offering short and humorous replies to redirect the topic back toward his music. However, one particular question seemed to strike a nerve, and his demeanor visibly changed. His smile faded, his voice grew sharper, and the lighthearted banter gave way to a clear expression of discomfort. Eyewitnesses in the studio recalled a sudden tension in the air. While the hosts attempted to keep the exchange playful, Shelton's frustration became obvious. He firmly stated that he had come on the show to discuss his professional projects, not to have his private life dissected on national television. The remark was met with a brief silence, followed by an awkward attempt from Jenna to smooth things over. Yet instead of calming the situation, her follow-up comment, intended as a joke, was interpreted by Shelton as pushing the boundary further. At that moment, Shelton leaned back in his chair, exhaled heavily, and shook his head. "I think I'm done here," he said, standing up while removing the microphone clipped to his shirt. The audience gasped, unsure whether this was part of a scripted stunt or a genuine walk-off. The camera cut briefly to Jenna, who looked startled but tried to keep smiling as producers rushed to figure out how to manage the live segment. Shelton offered no further explanation. He simply gave a quick wave to the audience and strode off the set, leaving the hosts momentarily speechless. Clips of the incident began circulating online within minutes, as viewers recorded the moment and shared it across social media platforms. Hashtags like #BlakeWalksOff and #TodayShowDrama trended throughout the day, with fans debating whether Shelton had overreacted or whether the hosts had crossed a line. Some viewers sided with Shelton, praising him for standing his ground and refusing to allow his personal life to become fodder for entertainment. Others criticized the singer, suggesting that as a public figure he should expect tough or intrusive questions, and that walking off was unprofessional. In the days that followed, entertainment outlets scrambled to analyze the incident. Commentators revisited Shelton's past interviews, noting that while he is often candid and playful, he has consistently drawn boundaries when it comes to certain aspects of his life. His marriage to Gwen Stefani has been celebrated publicly, but Shelton has often emphasized that he values privacy and dislikes when interviews dwell on tabloid speculation rather than his artistry. This context shed light on why he may have reacted so strongly during the Today with Jenna and Friends appearance. The show itself faced criticism as well. Some viewers argued that the line of questioning was inappropriate, particularly given Shelton's clear discomfort. Critics accused the producers of prioritizing sensationalism over respectful conversation, while supporters of the hosts claimed they were simply doing their job by asking what the audience wanted to know. Jenna, for her part, addressed the incident briefly on the following day's episode, acknowledging that things had gotten a little more intense than expected, and expressing hope that there were no hard feelings. Meanwhile, Shelton did not immediately release a statement, allowing speculation to continue. His silence fueled even more debate, with gossip blogs suggesting rifts behind the scenes and others insisting he was simply letting the moment pass without giving it further attention. Finally, a representative for Shelton issued a short comment, clarifying that while Blake appreciated the opportunity to appear on the show, he felt the interview took a turn that he was not comfortable with. The statement ended by saying he looked forward to focusing on his upcoming tour and music rather than rehashing the incident. For fans of Blake Shelton, The walk-off became a flashpoint illustrating the delicate balance between celebrity access and personal boundaries. While television thrives on candid moments and unexpected drama, celebrities often struggle with the constant scrutiny of their private lives. Shelton's reaction highlighted that even seasoned performers have limits, and that when those limits are tested in real time, the results can be dramatic and unpredictable. In the broader landscape of daytime television, the incident also raised questions about interview ethics. How far should hosts go in pursuit of candid answers? Should celebrities be granted more control over what topics are off-limits? And to what extent is a walk-off a failure of the interview format versus a natural consequence of pushing too hard? Industry insiders debated these issues, pointing out that while controversy can boost ratings, it can also damage a show's reputation if audiences perceive the hosts as disrespectful or insensitive. As the dust settled, one thing was clear: the walk-off ensured that Shelton's appearance on Today with Jenna and Friends would be remembered far longer than a typical promotional interview. It became a viral cultural moment, replayed endlessly online and analyzed from every angle. Whether it ultimately harmed Shelton's image or reinforced his reputation as someone unwilling to compromise his boundaries depended largely on one's perspective. To his loyal fans, the moment only underscored his authenticity. To his critics, it suggested a thin skin in an industry where tough questions are part of the job. Yet in the world of entertainment, such incidents often fade as quickly as they erupt. By the following week, new stories dominated the headlines, and Shelton was back in the spotlight for his music rather than his television drama. Still, the image of him rising from his chair, unclipping his microphone, and striding purposefully off the set lingered in the cultural memory, a reminder that live television remains unpredictable and that even the most seasoned performers can surprise their audience. The studio lights were bright, the audience buzzing with anticipation, and the atmosphere on Today with Jenna and Friends felt like any other cheerful morning. Hosts Jenna and her colleagues welcomed country superstar Blake Shelton with smiles and applause. Known for his quick wit, down-to-earth personality, and his unmistakable Oklahoma charm, Shelton has long been a fan favorite on television. Viewers tuning in expected laughs, stories from his time on The Voice, and maybe even a surprise musical performance. The show kicked off smoothly, with Jenna engaging Shelton in friendly conversation about his latest projects. He spoke about his upcoming tour dates, shared a few humorous behind-the-scenes anecdotes, and even joked about life on the road. At first, everything was lighthearted, the audience clapping and laughing at his trademark one-liners. For a moment, it felt like nothing could disturb the harmony of the set. But as the conversation continued, the tone began to shift. One of the hosts brought up Shelton's personal life, a subject that has always attracted intense public attention. Though Blake has often been open in interviews, he has also been clear about where he draws the line. Initially, he tried to brush off the question with humor, deflecting toward his music. Yet the hosts pressed further, circling back to the subject as if eager to get a headline-making moment. The air in the studio grew noticeably tense. Shelton's smile faltered, and his responses became shorter. What had started as a charming interview began to turn into an uncomfortable back and forth. The audience, still trying to gauge whether this was playful banter or something more serious, grew quieter. Jenna attempted to smooth things over with a lighthearted comment, but instead, it only seemed to fuel the tension building between the guest and the hosts. For Shelton, who has spent years balancing fame, privacy, and the media's constant curiosity, this was clearly a breaking point in the conversation. His usually relaxed posture stiffened, his voice sharpened, and his frustration was evident to everyone watching.